Alright, ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? Back with some more StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm action. I am super excited to be back in casting, guys. I didn't take a break. I didn't go on any kind of a hiatus. I've actually been really focused on kind of just studying the game and playing the game and figuring out the strategies and the new units, man. Now, like, I love this time right now in Heart of the Swarm. If you guys look at my previous casts, you'll note that people aren't using new units. People are not really figuring out how to implement the new units in Heart of the Swarm. But slowly but surely, players are finally starting to figure out how to make these units used. Be it the Swarm Host, of course, for siege play. Be it the Widow Mine, of course, which can be used offensively and defensively for the Terran Arsenal. A very powerful unit indeed. But things are changing. Things are definitely becoming a little bit more figured out. The metagame's constantly changing. Terran versus Zerg has actually been one of those matchups that I have enjoyed quite a bit of in Heart of the Swarm, and I'm not really too sure. There we go. A little bit of a delay there from my keyboard response. Not really too sure what that was about. But anyway, let's go ahead and introduce our players. We're going to have in the upper right side representing Axiom Esports. Of course, this was taken, just a little bit of a note, from the Acer Team Story Cup, a clan war between Axiom and Root. And it's going to be our blue Terran in the upper right. It is Heart, formerly of Complexity, now on Axiom. In the bottom right, of course, representing Root Gaming, it is going to be our red Korean Zerg. It's going to be YugiOh. So I'm actually really excited for this game. YugiOh was a player that was formerly of Slayers. He did receive quite a good amount of attention, but I think there was like a little bit of a scandal that happened with him. I don't know if it was, maybe it was like a Korean Star League online tournament where he cheated, or maybe he didn't cheat. Maybe he was just getting free wins or giving free wins, something like that. I don't remember the exact story, but he did receive a suspension from his team, and later, a little bit after that, I guess decided to leave the team or got kicked out. I don't know these facts, guys, but I know there was some crazy stuff that went on with this Zerg player. But he's back. Took a little bit of a retirement, I think, or not a retirement. Maybe I'm talking about Slayer's Coca. But wasn't on a team for quite a bit. Got picked up by Root Gaming, and now, of course, is representing the North American scene. A very fun player to watch. I love watching YugiOh. He's relatively aggressive in all of the matchups. Very good when it comes to scouting and reacting to his opponent. Now, Heart, on the other hand, I want to talk a little bit about this guy. Heart was a player on Complexity that was known in the foreign scene as to be relatively cheesy. Two-base, all-in player, doesn't really, just many people did not really consider him a top Terran. Now, if you would ask a Korean, some would agree, some would disagree. Some would say Heart is obviously a very fantastic Terran player, but he's actually grown up, or grown on me quite a bit. He's been playing very well. Was on Complexity, did quite a good amount of showings at the MLGs, and now is on Axiom, of course, with his friends Alicia, Crank, and all the other guys. So it's gonna be a good game. Heart, of course, I'm not really too sure who's the favorite coming into this. Both players should be pretty evenly matched, but let's stop with the introductions, guys. Let's talk about these little build orders that we're seeing from our players. So Heart right now is just going for, it looks like it was just a barracks into command center into this factory play, followed by the reactor. So very standard. We're gonna be seeing these reactor Hellions pop out here relatively soon for a Terran player, just to go ahead and control the map. Check out these watchtowers, see the harvester count from his opponent, get a little bit of scouting information. Generally, this is what happens in the metagame of Terran versus Zerg, unless you're going for some sort of a crazy one-base Hellbat drop. Banshees, not quite common anymore in Heart of the Swarm, so not a big surprise. And there's that third command center as well from Heart. So metagame right now in TVZ has always been around this very quick third command center. Some players even get the third command center before the factory. Some players get the double engineering bay, of course, if you're going for any kind of a bio-based composition, before adding on any additional barracks. So these are going to be very important things that YugiOh is going to want to scout out in this game. But now let's talk about the build that YugiOh is going. He's going to grab gas. So he's going to have metabolic boost relatively soon. Actually, his speed is already completed, so he will be able to control the map in the early stages here of the game. Creep spread looking pretty good for YugiOh. What is the actual build that he's going for? How many gases does he have? He has one gas right now in the natural, one gas in the main. We'll go ahead and see when he decides to take the third, and of course what would be the fourth gas in the main base. This is kind of just going to tell us what tech that YugiOh is going to be going for in this game. He likes relying on a lot of Zerglings, a lot of early roach pressure as well. So these are going to be things we definitely want to be looking at right now in this game. So YugiOh right now sitting on 56 supply to 52 supply of Heart, 37 drones to 34 SCV. So pretty even in terms of economy. Of course, his third command center, once that kicks in, it's going to be playing a little bit of, or it's going to play a little bit in the favor of Heart. But YugiOh right now is just droning, making some Zerglings, of course, to go ahead and deal with these Hellions. You would see some Zergs actually play this 100% safe. You would see some go Lings, Ling Baneling, which is not the safest. Generally, you want to have Roaches if your opponent's really committing to Hellions. But Heart right now doesn't really have too many. He only has 6, and there's already some Zerglings on the map for YugiOh. So YugiOh is playing this out very nicely, reacting accordingly to what he's scouting, and is getting a layer behind this. So we'll see what tech this is going to be. This can be a Roach Morin. This it's very unlikely to be very quick Mutas. He can eventually transition into Mutalisks, but if he was doing that, he definitely want to have this third and this fourth gas up as quickly as possible. But he is grabbing these gases, so we'll have to see what tech YugiOh is going to be wanting to go in this game. Meanwhile, in the production tab for Heart, we are seeing these Widow Mines. We're also seeing the Starport in the production tab. So he's going to go ahead and eventually transition into these medevacs. There is the Stim, possibly going to give him a lot of early opportunities to possibly go for a timing once these barracks finish. This is usually what Stim means. It really depends what kind of player you are. Do you go Combat Shield before Stim? Do you go Stim before Combat Shield? It really kind of dictates and tells you the style of the Terran player. Is he timing oriented? Is he more defensive? Is he gonna, hard to take this third base. Is he gonna defend it, or is he just gonna go for, low eco, not really produce too many SCVs, and just hammer out a bunch of barracks and try to go for a quick kill to YugiOh? But we'll have to see. Meanwhile, now Roach Warren's down for YugiOh. Great choice, as well as the Spire. We're also seeing 1-1 in the production tab for a Zerg player. I believe it's 1-1. Yes, in fact it is. So 2-2 should be starting here relatively soon once the +1 melee attacks and the Carapace do complete. Caliber Constitution, of course, that Roach speed. Now Heart, meanwhile, his composition just going to be bio. This many barracks, double engineering bay, Marines, Marauders, eventually I would assume, Medevacs and Widow Mines has become the composition to be going for in Terran versus Zerg. Widow Mines are so good at positional play, zoning out Lings and Mutalisks. If you have Mutalisks all clumped up in one big ball, guys, that is not the way you want to be engaging Widow Mines. Of course, Zerg players have been adapting to this Widow Mine play, going for 1, 2, maybe even 3 Overseers with their actual composition to go ahead and detect the Burrow Widow Mines. But YugiOh right now is making units in the production tab, and his economy is 72 drones to 64 SCVs. So his economy is looking pretty damn good. Usually you'd be around the 80 drone mark around this time, but not a big deal. 70 drones right now is very good. He's even going to inch in a few more drones as we see him take a 4th base relatively quickly upon seeing that, of course, his opponent did go ahead and secure this 3rd expansion and a hive. So a lot of tech here from YugiOh, but here comes that push from Heart, and YugiOh is actually teching, making 12 drones in the production tab as he sees this army coming. YugiOh is this player that just does not really... Zerg players usually at this point, they'll see these units and be like, oh man, I need to make some units. I need to spam some roaches to be able to deal with it. But Heart is actually being relatively aggressive, scanning, getting rid of some of these creep tumors. I love this choice from Heart. Of course, this does deny YugiOh from getting as much scouting information as he'd want. And there's the Banelings in the production tab. So Heart, is he going to go for the push, or is just going to be a little bit of map control here from the Terran player? He's going to scan once again, getting rid of more of these creep tumors. YugiOh deciding, does he want to engage into it? Supply counts are very close, 153 to 169. 1-1 completed already for Heart. 1-1 should be completed for YugiOh, as we do see 2-2 in the production tab for our Zerg player. But here comes that swing around push. Look at the position of these Widow Mines, guys. This is so clever by Heart. In case YugiOh tries to set up a flank, these Widow Mines are going to freaking do work. And YugiOh's just, he's kind of thinking, do I go? Do I not go? Do I save this space? What should I really be doing right now? And he's actually going into Greater Spire. And if he can buy himself enough time to get Broodlords on the map, Heart is going to be actually caught with his pants down. He's not really producing any Vikings. He doesn't need to at this point. He hasn't really scouted the actual tech of his opponent. He's just making Marauders upon seeing Roaches, which of course are great against Roaches, and they tank very, very well against Banelings. But Heart is maxed out. YugiOh can max out here very soon. 172 supply to 200. Of course, 2-2 soon to finish here from YugiOh, which would help tremendously. But 2-2 is about to finish here for Heart. Looks like the engagement going to go down. Both players still do have 1-1. Stimming is going to be our Terran, and he's actually going to just back out. Load up, Superman speed the hell out of there. Actually, he's not going to do that. Of course, when I say Superman speed, guys, I'm talking about that Ignite Afterburners new ability here for the medevacs in Heart of the Swarm. But YugiOh has done a pretty good job at defending this, although there's a little bit of a drop here at the third expansion of YugiOh. No units in sight to be able to deal with it. We're going to finally see some Roaches here come to this expansion to go and defend it. Once again, we are seeing these medevacs towards the right side into the main base of YugiOh. He does have a Spore. Mutas are going to try to do some damage, but that is a lot of units inside these medevacs here from Heart. He is going to load or drop a whole bunch of Marines. Needs to stim to go ahead and kill some of these Banelings, and Roaches is going to do exactly that. At the same time, in the center of the map, we're seeing the Broodlords are finally morphed here from YugiOh, and he's going to scan. Of course, Heart is just seeing like, whoa, bro, you have all of these Broodlords. And Heart is really, really multitasking right now, testing the multitasking of YugiOh, continuing to focus down key structures in the main base, but YugiOh holding down very, very nicely in the center of the map with these Broodlords. Of course, he's going to send some of them into the main base to go ahead and deal with this drop. Both players so close in supply, 170, actually 167 to 159 now. Heart is so aggressive and just multitasking, dropping in the main, continuing to control the center of the map with very, very little units, which is quite questionable. But when there's Broodlords on the map, guys, you need to transition. He's not making Vikings. Heart wants to try to kill his opponent right here and right now. Look at the center of the map. There's just so many Marines and Marauders and Widow Mines continuing to be rallied into the main base of YugiOh. Another scan going down. 2-2 has finally completed for our Terran. 2-2 has completed for Heart. He does have some infestors as well. 2 additional infestors in the production tab. Pathogen glands just being started. So these infestors are actually not going to have the energy. They're just going to have to chill and hang out a little bit until they get enough energy to go ahead and get Fungal and the infested Terran's ability. But YugiOh, is he ahead in this game, or is he kind of behind? He still has 79 drones, still basically mining off of 4 bases. Heart has been on 4 bases, or 3 bases, excuse me, for quite some time. Overlord gets into Scout. We'll be able to confirm this 4th base of Heart. Of course, it's not mining just yet. But at the center of the map, the engagement going down again. Heart's going to stim, continuing to scan. These Widow Mines need to be focused down by the Broodlords. There we go. In fact, the Spine Crawler is going to do the majority of the work there. But YugiOh now is so close to maxing out. 186 supply to 172. Heart, his army composition, this is like a mid-game army composition, guys. You cannot keep making Marines, Marauders, and Widow Mines against Broodlords and Festers. You need Vikings. You need something to be able to deal with this. The only anti-air that Heart has right now on the map is these Marines. He has 2-2, pretty good upgrades. But hold that thought in the main base. We're having another medevac drop. Lings and Baneling's going to try to blow up onto this little Bioforce of Heart, and he's just going to get out as if nothing happened. So Heart is slowly but surely trying to get himself a slight lead in this game, but YugiOh holding his position down very, very nicely. Heart continuing to control again to the best of his ability, but YugiOh now 185 supply to 169 supply in the main base. We're still seeing those Widow Mines just I guess waiting to blow up on something. Fortunately, there's nothing in their way. Maybe these Lings, I guess that's what's going to happen. And the drop still continuing to happen here from Heart. He is taking a 4th behind it. Not that many Marines. These Lings and Banelings should be able to clean it up, but the problem is this army. What is the units count? We see 7 Broodlords, 11 Infestors, has the Overseers, of course, to be able to detect against these Widow Mines. Now, if these Broodlords clump up and the Widow Mines get a few hits, this army can actually die relatively quickly. But it looks like Heart is going to be in some trouble, man. Lings and Banelings in the center of the map. Is this going to be it? YugiOh is actually going to force Heart to throw in the towel with the GG. So YugiOh played such, I don't want to say defensive game. It kind of was a defensive game. He just scouted very nicely. Had very, very good creep spread. Did a pretty decent job at defending the drops by Heart. And of course, with these positions, top right, bottom right, you would generally be seeing quite a bit of medevac drops in the Terran versus Zerg matchup. But YugiOh, quite honestly, I felt like he took a risk. Teched really, really quickly to Broodlords, which you generally don't really see a lot in ZVT. You see a lot of Mutalisk, Baneling, Zergling, of course, Insulator, Ultralisks. Sometimes you see Swarm Host play, of course, which is better against mech. But this was just a standard bio play here by Hart. And YugiOh went straight for the Broodlords, caught his opponent a little bit with his pants down. Very, very late Viking transition here from Hart. I mean, look at the units count. 4 Vikings. Those 4 Vikings actually did nothing yet. Those are just the ones that came out of these starports. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed the cast. That's going to conclude it for this commentary. And YugiOh will take out Hart in this match. Now, you guys are welcome to check out TeamLiquid.net for the remaining games of the Acer Team Story Cup. I will not ruin the actual score between these two teams. But anyway, click the subscribe button. You guys are welcome to follow me on Twitter at PromiseCast. I will post it in one of these comments. And yeah, that's going to do it. So stay safe, good luck, and have fun.